All right, welcome back to the International West Qualifiers for the Dota 2 Championships. We're going to get ready to go into the first game of the second group, which is Group B. It's going to be Mousesports versus ICCup. We should take a look at the players, see who's going to be competing here today for all our viewing pleasure.
On the side of ICCup, we have Jackal playing carry, Resolution playing the mid, Mag, famous player from there, playing the offlane. We Just Sick and Always Wanna Fly are the supports. And for the side of Mousesports, we have Pass and Synderen on the supports, Koipa on the offlane, Fada playing mid, and the carry, the Burning of the West, Black.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to see what Black is going to have in store of us, because every game it doesn't matter how the game goes. I've seen him shut down once on a PL in the past, like 20, 30 matches I've watched of them, but he's always able to get the farms. Yeah. So we can take a look at some of the statistics of the teams as well. Who have we got here, Bruno?
We've got versus between ICCup and Mouse going straight away. ICCup, 31 games played, is kind of a new team. That's why people don't know much about them. The record is 18-13, so they're positive. And their form, the recent form, is actually surprisingly good. They just lost 2 out of their 5 matches, the last matches they played. On the other hand, Mousesports, a powerhouse, they've been playing forever, 351 games to their name, 195 wins, 155 losses. And the form is also 3-2, but they've been more inconsistent. They just win and lose and win and lose and win again. They faced each other twice, first in We Play Cup, where Mouse won, and before that in the Defense 3, where Mouse also won. So 2-0 is the advantage for Mouse at the moment.
Yeah, so Mouse looking pretty good, and I guess it's just hit 2:30, as we call it in England. So it's time to go over to Andy and Weppers to bring you the action from Game 1, and me and Bruno have tried to promise that we will not touch each other.
Maybe.
Much more.
Yeah.
At least.
I wouldn't make promises you can't keep, James. I mean, look at Bruno. How could you not want to touch him? But of course, Weppos, we're going to be getting into the game here in just a second. Everybody's going to be loading up. It's ICCup taking on Mouse. This match for me, for ICCup, this is the most important match of the day. If you drop down here, it's going to be a long road back.
They really got to show their trump cards right away, I'd say, just to be able to beat Mouse. We saw Mouse. They've been playing really well lately, especially when they got Synderen. Being able to get a proper captain in, once again, after they lost Kurkai. That's been one of the biggest things for them, to be able to start performing again. So ICCup got to pull the special tricks out now, but I'm very interested to see what they got in store for Mouse.
Well, Mouse, I would say, obviously Bruno mentioned, they're a team that's been around forever. Of course, not this exact iteration, but they have so much experience, especially in Black and Synderen, like we were talking about before. Even Fata and Koikva have actually been on Mouse for quite a while now. Pas, an experienced player in his own right. So coming into this, a lot of people are going to be favoring Mousesports, and rightfully so. But there's just this certain allure of a team like ICCup where there's only a few teams who actually know what kind of style they're going to be bringing here. What exactly is their trump card? We saw yesterday, or the day before even, when AL was running that Slark over and over again before teams started banning it against them, that no team had an answer. So maybe ICCup has a strategy like that where teams are just not going to be able to adapt.
Yeah, they're starting off quite early with banning out both a Keeper of the Light as well as a Nyx. Both heroes very well or very high favored by Mousesports. Black loves to play that Knife Stealer, as well as the Keeper of the Light they love to use. So in the pool right now we got Nyx as well as Mag, but we're going to see Nature's Prophet being the first pickup from ICCup, because that's also one of the heroes that Mousesports love to run in the offlane.
Well, Nature's Prophet first pick, honestly, don't see that too much. You do see him in the first 3, at least from one team or the other, if he's available, because people start to gravitate towards split push in situations where they're not sure if they can outfight Mousesports. You don't really want to go 5 versus 5 against a team who has the experience and potentially could just fight better than you. So I do like that choice from them, but they're also giving away a Lone Druid to Mousesports, another hero that Black absolutely loves to play. In the past, he didn't play it so much, but recently he's been starting to play it a lot more, especially in those 1 versus 1 matchups. And he's already a monstrous farmer as is, like we mentioned earlier, pretty much the Burning of the West. He always finds his farm in every single situation.
Yeah, the other hero they're going to try and pick up here might as well be a Mag as well as a Nyx. They love to play both those heroes. Synderen usually plays that Nyx in a support role, or they use Mag in mid. Fata, we've been seeing him playing it every game they can get a Mag on their hands. They just get it for Fata. because he's a really experienced mag player. But they've been playing the lone druid in the offlane as well, depending on what their lineup starts to look like in the end of the draft. So we'll have to see if they actually want to run it in the safe lane on black, just farm away, get as much farm as possible, or if they want to use it as a pushing monster, starting him off in the long lane, going into the jungle maybe a bit, and then just start farming pushing.
A very defensive support coming out from Mousesports this early in the draft, and ICCup has no time at all to decide. They're just like Gyrocopter, Magnus straight away. They knew exactly what they were going to be going for. And I love these choices because we mentioned before, as soon as we saw the Nature's Prophet, it's like split push. That's what you think about when you think of the hero. Sure, he has some semi-carry potential. He controls the map very, very well. But we saw, actually, the other day, teams picking Wisp and the Prophet together, their lanes kind of crumbled because they didn't have anything in the early to mid-game stages to fight, whereas now you have two fantastic heroes who can take fights anywhere on the map. You have the RP, you have the Call Down, and the Flag Cannon. So the AoE damage and the team fight potential from ICCup already through the roof here.
With the Gyrocopter as well as the Nature's Prophet pickup, you got some really great follow-up for the RP as well. You got some good AoE damage from the Nature's Wrath as well as the Call Down. And then of course you got the Flag Cannon, so you can follow up with even more physical damage and not just magic damage. Because at this point, it's only the Rubik. He got his aura of course, but no one else is, or neither Rubik or Lone Druid is going to pick up the BKB. So they got some really good magic damage coming out. And of course they got the follow-up physical damage from the Gyrocopter and Nature's Prophet, of course. Like you mentioned, he will get stronger in the late game, going for more of a semi-carry build, so he'll be able to follow up with more physical as well.
At Mousesports, they're going to take a Windrunner as the last of their first three. So looking at the heroes so far, Mousesports seems very defensively postured. I mean, you have a Lone Druid, a Rubik, and a Windrunner. Three heroes who don't have necessarily a gigantic impact in their own right. Probably Lone Druid going to be the biggest one outside of Windrunner's Shackles. So for me, are Mousesports trying to avoid a direct confrontation here, or do they want to just have a stable laning phase?
Mousesports, from what I know, are actually running the Windrunner in support role. That's what I've been using it mostly for, but I know that Qualifier can run it in the long lane if they want to. They might even just run it mid. It's not a bad mid hero to have, especially against a mag, because you have a range against a melee hero, of course, and Windrunner's got quite good harassment. You got the power shot to be able to force the mag out of lane as well, so we'll have to see. But like you mentioned, they're really picking defensive supports if they want to run both the Rubik as well as the Windrunner in a defensive position. And they might just want to force ICCup to go aggressive, where they will have the upper hand once they start defending, with these supports being able to disrupt the RP with either a shackle shot or a lift, and just kind of ruin the team fight when ICCup wants to go on the aggression.
There's also one thing that we always have to keep in mind when you see that Prophet. If Mousesports is trying to make ICCup go aggressive, they're going to have basically four heroes in that lane. He can teleport down there whenever he needs to. If it's going to be a Nature's Prophet in the safe lane, just 1 versus 1, he's going to be even higher level than normal. They can put a Gyrocopter tri-lane together even at this stage because ICCup, as of right now, have not picked up any supports. Whereas Mousesports right now, they have their Lone Druid, but of course they're going to need a mid. And ICCup, they're going to go ahead and take a Visage. So this hero for me, very, very good in tri-lane versus tri-lane. He's been known as the king of tri-lanes basically for some time just because of how much damage Soul Assumption can put out. So we could still see an aggressive tri-lane here from ICCup. I
would not be surprised to see an aggressive tri-lane here. Visage, even though he doesn't have a setup stun, he's still got that slow, which I believe is about 32%.
Yep.
And that slow helps you being able to get a follow-up stun. Maybe if they want to try and get a Lina or a Leshrac still in the pool. With a Leshrac, they would get even more pushing power because you got the Familiars and you got Nature's Prophet with his 3 ends. So you'll be able to push towers really, really early on. And then they have a super strong aggressive tri-lane with that Gyrocopter Visage as well as the Lesh if they want to go with that follow-up as a secondary support.
At Mousesports, they're going to be taking a page out of AL's book, so shout out to Miguel, of course, from Absolute Legends, who played this hero, I want to say 4 times and won almost every single game. Mousesports now have that hero that they're going to be giving to Fata. He can take it all over the map. He can be incredibly annoying. The mobility of the hero, the fact that he can be on his own. That's what makes Slark so incredibly annoying, especially in these high-level games, is that if you get found out, it doesn't necessarily even matter because the team of ICCup right now, the only way they can really lock him down is with an RP. They don't have any other reliable stun. The homing missile won't hit if Slark is invisible using his ultimate. And familiar stuns, probably not going to be landing on a hero as mobile as that.
No, the familiars are quite slow, and then the landing, of course, is kind of slow as well. And then you have, of course, have the leap of Slark, so you can just jump away straight off. So the question now for ICCup is, are they going to go for, if they want to run an aggressive trident, will they go for the Lina to be able to get some even more burst, to be able to burst that Slark instantly in the team fights, just get the Laguna Blade as well as the Soul Assumption out, or do they want to go with something like a Lesh maybe and get more pushing power and just try and 5-man down the team of Mousesport at this point?
And Mousesports have one little advantage here in the fact that if they wanted to, they could still run the Lone Druid in a defensive tri-lane. It's not horrible. Typically, you would see him put in the off lane in situations like this. But Black, they always give him the best possible start. Very seldom do they throw him to the wolves and say, you're on your own, we're going to go ahead and tri-lane without you. So we're looking at one more here for ICCup. We're looking at one more for Mousesports. For ICCup, it's what are we expecting Mouse to do? Because the last pick of Mousesports is going to be another hero that's getting some semblance of farm, unless they plan on running that Windrunner in the offlane like you had mentioned earlier. So for them, I think they have a bit more flexibility than what ICCup have right here, and in the last pick, that's actually a huge advantage for them.
In the last pickup for Mouse, they can still, like you mentioned, they can run the Windrunner in the long lane, and then they can pick up another support like a Leshek or a Lina, like I mentioned that ICCup might wanted to pick up, but they're actually going to go for a Clockwork instead, which is also a nice support to have. You can run in if you want to get the cogs out. If you, of course, want to run him in a support role, but you can also run him in the long lane, Niche's Prophet in the jungle, and then run a defensive tri-lane, or a pseudo tri-lane, I guess it will be, with the Visage as well as the Gyrocopter. We'll have to see what the lanes are going to look for ICCup, but like I mentioned, if Mousesports actually goes for something like a Lesh or a Lina now, they might just try and get a good roaming combo going, because they got 3 very good solo heroes that can stay on their own, and then you have 2 really strong roaming supports.
The last pick out from Mousesports is actually going to be a Weaver, and that's going to be the hero that Quick was playing, so you actually said this right at the beginning of the draft. It's going to be Cinderin playing on a support Windrunner, so...
Yeah, just going to inform you, I think we're going to just remake the lobby here. I believe the reason was that we didn't have in-game Dota 2 sound, right, Trent?
Yes.
So we're just going to... and we'll get the lobby remade, they'll all pick their heroes, and then it will be fine. we said Dota bug. We're blatant liars. Well done, Andy.
The players don't need to know anything.
Yeah, so sorry guys if you were in the game and you missed the draft talk on Dota 2 TV. If you're on the stream, you would have got it as well. But I'm sure everything that was said about the drafts and the bans will somewhat be reiterated over the course of the cast.
Yeah.
So...
no problem at all, and just going to double check and make sure that my audio is actually... Nope, still got nothing. But yeah, we were talking about the draft actually of Mousesports, and we were saying how defensive it could actually be in nature. And since we saw Quakefoot get his hands on that Weaver, are we still thinking that he's going to be going to the offlane, or are we thinking that they might put Black there instead?
I guess most likely we'll see Koikoi go to the offlane, because Black almost always wants to run in the safe lane, unless they're going to run an aggressive tri-lane with him. They usually don't let him be solo in the offlane.
Yeah.
Sometimes they run aggressive tri-lanes with him, but if they put him in one lane solo, it's always the safe lane. And Lone Druid being such a strong solo safe laner, I would be surprised to see them there. Maybe have the support roam a bit, start off in the top lane, go up with an aggressive tri-lane with the Weaver, just to be able to get some good harassment out on the Gyrocopter, because it actually looked like the Gyrocopter was going to run up to the top lane, so it would be a safe tri-lane instead. So, we'll have to see though, but they got some decent roaming support, so they got the lift to set up a shackle shot if they actually want to get some roaming going on the Mousesports side.
The one thing about that defensive lane for Mousesports is the lack of damage that they basically have. Like, you want level 3, ideally, get level 2 into the Fable, get level 2 into the Power Shot, and then you can start actually getting some kills. But the thing with Windrunner is, as a support, she's very level starved. Like, you want Shackle maxed out, you want your Power Shot maxed out, you want level 9. Like, that's pretty much the level where the hero starts hitting her stride. So hopefully we can get back into the game here, and the sound issues will be fixed here.
Come on,
Trans.
Trans.
Come on, Trans.
Show your beautiful
right here.
face, or just your arm.
He really doesn't want to be on camera, so...
You got to take broadcast.
He's
as well,
ashamed.
so.
He's ashamed of the sound.
He's a bit shy.
Did Black pick up the Weaver or Lone Druid?
Lone Druid.
Okay,
Lone Druid,
so
yeah.
we can swap
He's the
the
Lone Druid,
Weaver
yeah.
to off lane,
And the
Lone Druid to safe lane.
They can even let this Lone Druid solo there versus the clock and just go with an offensive tri-lane. Weaver.
Yeah, we'll see. I think that Clockwork's going to have not too bad of a time on the off lane, even if the supports are there.
Yeah.
It's not as killable. Especially, you really need to just have the root up on, your bear.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you just
want
got
level
lift
5.
and a level 1 power shot and a level 1 shackle if you're level 2, which isn't really going to get you a surefire kill. So, yeah, very defensive on their tri-lane. But yeah, as Bruno mentioned, they could take that Weaver, Windrunner, and Rubik to the off lane and do an aggressive tri-lane.
Yep.
It would be interesting, though, if they're expecting that the Clockwork is going to be the offlane hero and the Prophet's just going to be going in the jungle, then the tri-lane versus the dual lane clearly is going to just absolutely roll over what ICCup has. But if the Clockwork is actually top and the Nature's Prophet is bottom, we saw how powerful that cog can be in a tri-lane versus a tri-lane. Even in ranged heroes, you can't really get that close because the cogs themselves take up almost the entire lane. So you're not going to be able to get any follow-up damage off. You could get mana burned. It's 80 mana burn at level 1. Which is ridiculous. It actually is more mana burn than it is to cast a spell.
Yeah.
So you can actually just harass people down pretty easily. But we'll see what happens. And hopefully we can actually restart the game. Not really sure if everything's fixed just yet, but we're trying.
We're getting
I
there.
hear lots of grunting and sighing come from Trance. That normally means he's close to fixing it. He's like, you ever seen Fix It Felix?
Yes.
Yeah. If Felix was
A real guy.
you don't want Trance just stood up and held an audio cable
Unplugged.
unplugged.
We're apologizing to the teams for delaying them.
Here
because,
comes
of
Trance.
course, we don't want that to happen.
I trust
Hi,
hand.
Trance's hand. Yeah, sorry guys for the delays, and it seems that every morning we have something.
I think
awesome
the
happening.
kittens.
Yeah, we're good
Kittens
now.
come and just.
We got some volume registering, so we can just go ahead and start the game. Yeah, we'll double check the inside
All right.
game audio as
There
well.
we go.
Audio actually still not coming in. Oh, goodness.
Oh, then you-
I'm the host of the lobby, Trance. I can't just... Alright, well, I guess I'm restarting Dota, so that means we're going to have to rehost the lobby again, because we're not going to know who
Yeah,
actually
just tell them
gets
it's fine.
host
It's just like
afterwards.
part of the tournament is.
Remember to.
I mean, I think the players are okay. They're only slightly
6 minutes
delayed,
delayed.
but part of the tournament
no.
is also the viewer experience. So, we wouldn't have necessarily done this unless we wanted you guys to actually get the benefits of the Dota 2 TV, where you can click around, watch what you want, and also still have the in-game audio from all the people broadcasting. I think us and Join Dota are the two
English.
in English so far, and obviously Vlad in Russian.
And there's Neo
and,
TV
Neo TV, yeah.
for
so-
Chinese. There's Antena Dota
Yeah.
for Spanish.
Yeah, and if you bought the compendium and supported the tournament, which will in return support all the players actually competing in the tournament, of course we want you to have the experience that you deserve for getting the compendium up.
What I want to say about the
On your
compendium
account.
is that we are like super close to 1.96. If we get to 1.97, which we can do it today according to like projections, we will be the highest price in esports.
There we go.
It's already the highest price
Yeah.
for me.
I bought 6 compendiums. That's true.
You're an overachiever.
Is
Yeah,
everyone
everyone-
knows? Trance is micromanaging people in lobbies now. Is everyone in lobby?
Everyone
Is
is almost
everybody
in lobby.
happy?
We're missing one person from each team, and I think we're missing one commentator.
Okay, well,
we're
we'll
gonna
just
be good.
hold off for just a moment. But
Yeah,
yeah,
we're
of
done
course,
about
now we've got everything working. We're
Yeah.
ready for the rest of the day, which is always nice. The voice of James and Bruno will talk while you stare at Andy and Wepaz and just
Simba.
admire
Simba.
Okay,
what Wepaz's
game has
hair is
started.
doing.
I'm going to
The hair is
save James
amazing.
and Bruno from themselves because God knows they need it. But Wepots, we're going to be getting into the game. All the teams are picked. We haven't had a chance to see the lanes just yet. But of course, it's going to be Mousesports taking on ICCup here in the first best of 3 of today. Remember, we got 2 more best of 3s. It's going to be a long day, but it's going to be a good one.
A lot of Dota today. A lot of Dota. And it's going to be, from what people have been saying, the toughest group as well. So we'll have to see. These first 2 games, I think, is going to pretty much set the pace. Or these first 2 best of 3s are going to set the pace of the rest of this group, of course. So very interesting to see what ICCup can pull out. Like we said, Clockwork Support was the last pickup. So we'll see how they actually want to run their lanes.
I can't wait to see Black playing on Lone Druid again because like I mentioned before, he plays it a little bit, but he's starting to play it more and more recently. Before, you would always see him on the Lifestealer. You actually said that yourself. And then he would play like Anti-Mage. That's where he kind of got the Burning of the West nickname, when he would get like 300 CS in 25 minutes, even in situations where his team was losing and they didn't have map control. That is actually one of the harder things to do, is know where you can actually safely farm and punish the other team for not being able to punish you. So we'll see what kind of strategy each team is going to be bringing to bear. But for ICCup, you look at their lineup. They have great presence on the map. They have 3 heroes who essentially can almost gank you from anywhere. You have the Prophet, Clockwork, Hookshot is extremely long range, and then you have the Familiars that can actually just be anywhere they need to be.
One thing I really like with ICCup's lineup is that Clockwork support being the last pickup, just because you get another initiation hero. Magnus being the only initiation hero is very hard to run, just because Mousesports of course are going to split up and make it really hard for you to get a good RP. But if you have a Clockwork that can run in, Mousesports has to help that hero, and then you can maybe get a good RP follow-up. So I really do like that support pickup, but we'll have to see how it works out, of course.
It looks like we are going to be seeing Always Wanna Fly heading up to that top lane with Cogs at level 1. So this is actually a little bit of a problem for Mouse, if they actually weren't dodging the lane, which I think that they are now. They've pinged it out. It looked like they were going top for a moment, but Paz, of course, now walking towards that bottom lane. Cinderin, though, still kind of hanging around. Not sure if he's the one they're going to be throwing to the Wolves this game, and where Black is going to end up. I suppose he could jungle if he really wants to, but that's not really the fastest start. Lone Druid, not known as the speediest jungler you've ever seen, but he definitely can do it if he has to.
Yeah, Lone Druid is probably one of the slower junglers. I mean, even though he's kind of 2 heroes, it just doesn't really do any damage to the creeps, and you get so much more from being in the safe lane and farming. So I'm really interested to see how this bottom lane shapes up, because it's going to be a Lone Druid versus a Nature's Prophet at this point, and I'd say this lane is going to go, depending on how well the Nature's Prophet plays, we'll see which way it actually goes. Because the Nature's Prophet players, if he's good at microing his treants and getting harassment out on Black, he should be able to force him back out of the lane, because Black is going to have a hard time last-hitting and, of course, microing his bear to be able to harass, because you have to use the bear for harassment here. You can't just use it for last hits when you're playing against the Nature's Prophet. So we'll have to see how that lane shapes up.
Well, while we have a quick second, I do want to go over the players really, really fast. On the side of Mouse, we're going to have Cinderin playing on that Windrunner. The Slark going mid here, going to be played by Fata. Weaver, played by Quakefa here in this aggressive trial lane. Also, Paz going to be supporting on that Rubik. And then finally, Black is going to be playing on that Lone Druid.
On the side of ICCup, we got Resolution playing mid on that Mag. Visage being played by We Just Sick up in the top lane trial lane. Always Wanna Fly is playing the Clockwork. Down in bottom lane, we got Mag playing on that Nature's Prophet, and that leaves, of course, Jackal playing the Gyrocopter up in the tri lane.
So for me, whenever you see tri-lane versus tri-lane, the biggest implications for both teams are how well does your tri-lane do? Especially if you're in an aggressive position, it almost puts more pressure on you, because for ICCup, they don't have any problem sitting back, abusing how disruptive Cogs can be in the early stage of the game, and just keeping Mouse away from him to let him continue his farming. But on the flip side, Mouse, they have 2 heroes that are going to be a pretty enormous threat during the mid-game. Black, of course, is going to be getting some decent farm here, bottom lane, 1 versus 1. And then you're going to have Slark middle, who, as Absolute Legends have shown us in the past, can be absolutely devastating if he gets to that level 8, that level 9 mark, where he gets the max rank of his Dark Pact, his Pounce, and he just starts being everywhere.
The only problem I see with Mousesports' lineup at this point, or the aggressive trial lane, in my mind, is that they, like we mentioned before, in an aggressive tri lane, you either want to win the farm or the kills. If you can, of course you want to win both. But in this situation, they most likely win the farm just because Koikwa's range is a bit longer than Gyrocopter, I believe, on the Weaver. So Koikwa will be able to pretty much free farm up there, but they won't be able to get any kills, not with this lineup, just because it's so defensive. And if they actually try and go in, like we mentioned, Cogs are there to be able to disrupt the fight, and they might get counter-killed.
That's the one danger. If you get caught inside of those Cogs, you look at ICCup's tri lane and you think to yourself, not the best damage output, But if one person gets stuck in those cogs, you can get close enough for a rocket barrage. The soul assumption is going to be there straight away. It's going to be up to Always Want to Fly to get those return kills. He's the one who has to be relied upon to single those heroes out. But we can take a quick peek mid. See Fata is actually doing pretty well for himself, sitting at 8-1 comparative to the Magnus being played by Resolution, who is sitting at 11-1. So melee versus melee, probably not a whole lot going to be happening here in the middle lane. But once Fata hits 6, he's just going to regenerate all the harassment damage that Resolution can do to him.
Yeah, Resolution bottle crawling those, so he should be able to withstand the harassment coming out of Fata as well, and just shockwave spam. Especially now he got level 2 into shockwave. As soon as he hits level 5, that's going to start doing quite a bit of damage. But of course, like you mentioned, as soon as Fata hits level 6, he'll just regenerate that really, really quickly. So that mid lane is probably going to be quite even.
And bottom lane looks to be relatively even too. Black actually a little bit behind on overall CS. He's sitting at 10-7 compared to 13-9 now of Mag. So Nature's Prophet, very, very high base damage, great animation. He's even decided to buy himself a Ring of Bacillus to make his treants just that much stronger. And like you actually said too, all you have to do is basically right-click the treants on Black and go back to farming, and you can ignore them until, of course, they go under tower range. So for him, it's a bit easier to micro, whereas Black has to micro a tiny bit more. So we'll see how that lane ends up turning out. But for ICCup, this safe lane, still going reasonably well. They have 9-3 comparative to the 9-6 of the Weaver on the side of Mouse. But as soon as any aggression starts happening, that's when Mag's going to start teleporting to that lane.
And that's the scary part, having the Nature's Prophet running in the offlane, especially when he gets this amount of farm. He's always going to be able to TP into that tri lane. When they're running an aggressive tri lane, they're pretty much always playing 4 versus 3 at this point, just because Mag has that TP ready. The scary part for Mag on the Nature's Prophet is going to be once Black hits level 5 though. When he gets that entangle, he might be forced to go into the jungle on the Nature's Prophet just because Black can solo kill him.
And we'll see how much he's able to pressure here. He's got the Overvenom and the Stout Shield already on the bear, and now he's managed to pick himself up a pair of boots. So this is when it starts to get really frustrating. The treants, unfortunately, from Mag, not going to be quite as fast as a bear with a pair of boots. So this is when Black is going to start pulling ahead in terms of lane advantage, not by a large margin, and of course Mag's presence on the map is going to be more important than his farm at this particular point anyway. And overall, Mouse, you look at their late game, you say to yourself, the Weaver, the Lone Druid, the Slark, we've seen that Slark actually scales reasonably well, especially if you go for the phase boots drums into BKB. You can get into those fights pretty much at any point and just be an absolute terror, especially to low HP supports. But we'll see how they're going to play it out.
Yeah, Mag being forced out of the lane right now, he does not want to get rooted. Black is actually having... he's being a bit unlucky. I believe he hit him 4 or 5 times without actually getting that root off, so not getting any kill potentials going. But like you mentioned though, in the late game they're gonna have the Weaver as well as the Lone Druid being very, very strong, especially Weaver getting this amount of farm. He's got 20 last hits up in top, being harassed out a bit by this flat cannon. We mentioned it in the earlier cast that he's quite low on HP, so he's very easy to harass out, but he gets very strong in the late game though.
I do want to mention one thing about this tri-lane from ICCup is you have cogs on Always Want to Fly, and it's a fantastic utility to punish what Koikfu was doing earlier, which was CSing with his Shikuchi. He was walking into the creep wave, and if you have a sentry in the lane and Always Want to Fly is anywhere nearby, if he happens to get caught inside of that, it's pretty much a kill. Weaver only has 500 health. He's got a couple of wand charges, but one good rocket barrage, a soul assumption should be enough to actually take him down almost from full health. So ICCup maybe not getting as much done here in this lane as they would like to. Jackal's only sitting at 14-4. The Weaver is starting to pull significantly ahead in overall CS. So for ICCup, it's more about, can we get level 6 on the gyrocopter? Can we get 6 in the mag? Of course, Resolution is already 6, so he's got that RP. And I think that ICCup are actually going to be pressured to move before Mouse.
Resolution is doing quite well in mid against Fata. He's leading on the last hits. I'd guess mostly because of the shockwave spam, Mag being such a strong
top lane Jackal. Telekinesis, and that's going to be your first blood. Koikfa going to be able to pick that up, and everyone from ICCup, the supports, just way, way out of position. Looks like a bit of miscommunication. Always Want to Fly and Zik were sitting over here doing a creep pull, or at least trying to D-ward when they managed to pick off the gyrocopter. So very nice awareness coming out of Mouse. They get first blood.
And great movement, or great... I guess it's not movement, but great decision from Mouse to just go on the gyrocopter when they knew the supports weren't close enough. Because even if the Visage was there, he can't really do a lot. He's got the slow, but you really need the clockwork to be there with the cogs to be able to disrupt the fight properly. So very nice play by Mouse, getting the first blood there and just getting their advantage even higher.
Fata now sitting at level 8, and he's got max Dark Pact right now, and he's not putting a lot of points into Pounce, which is a little bit strange. When Miguel played him, he maxed out the Pounce first because the cooldown and the mobility of the spell itself just let you be a terror in these fights, especially during the early game, and it does a tremendous amount of damage. But seeing a little bit of a different variation on how they like to play the hero coming out of Mouse, I have this worry for ICCup. It's like you have this team who has fantastic mobility, you have the Furion, you have the Clockwork, and middle lane, actually, we're seeing Mag take quite a bit of damage there. Resolution almost solo kills Fate, even expended RP on that, but couldn't quite seal the deal. So Slark going to be quite happy with that. Resolution without an ultimate for another minute and a half.
I believe he actually did use RP right as Fata used his.
Oh, top lane as well. Going to see Visage actually picking up a kill on Paz, and looks like Quakefa wants to try to go back in, but gets rocketed by Always Want to Fly, and he's going to decide better. The Resolution is here. He's got the double damage. The Skewer will hit, and he gets a kill on Cinder. And so ICCup, they turn it around in the top lane. They get 2 kills, and Mouse come out with nothing.
Nice rotation coming out of Resolution there. Even though he didn't have the RP, still very nice to get a kill. He's actually going to TP it down to bottom lane towards Black, and they might be able to get a pickup killer if Mag can actually get the Sprout going.
He's still got the double damage rune. His Skewer is unfortunately not up quite yet. Doesn't look like Mag was able to get in range for that Sprout. Although Black did have 1 Tango left, and Zik manages to deny that tier 1 bottom lane. So I really like the movement out of ICCup. We were talking about how important it was for them to start establishing some kind of control. They get 2 kills on the top lane on both of the supports. They even deny the tier 1 away from Black, who at this stage desperately needs that money.
The hero they really need to kill off, though, is Black on that lone lane. Now when he's up to level 7 already, or even level 8, he's going to be able to farm the jungle very easily, and now tier 1 tower is gone. Black is known for being able to farm, so he can easily stabilize this lane and just keep it where it is at this point. And that means that his supports can TP into the tower, whereas if someone on ICCup goes down there to kill, it's going to take a lot longer for them to be able to rotate in and support the hero that's going to go for Black.
And as you mentioned earlier, too, this Nature's Prophet, he's said, I don't want to be in the lane anymore. It's very scary being against a bear. I'm going to go ahead and chill out in my jungle. He's going for the quick Midas build, so ICCup solidifying themselves a little bit more late-game potential. But at the same time, when you go Midas first on a Nature's Prophet against a highly mobile team and a Lone Druid, you're not going to have the greatest kill potential on that hero. I thought maybe he would rush to something else, like perhaps a mech, because Always Want to Fly. He's not getting any farm. He's not going to be the one who's going to be able to secure that item. And if Mouse start trying to push as 4 or 5, I think it's going to be relatively hard for ICCup to defend.
We might see Resolution go for that mech on the Mag. We've seen it a few times before that the Magnus sometimes picks it up. It would be best to get it on the clock, though, but like you mentioned, he's not getting any farm whatsoever on the support clock, so that mechanism is going to be delayed by quite a bit.
A Resolution getting closer to his Blink or his mech, whatever choice he's going to make. Fata actually teleports to the top lane to steal this gigantic creep stack. Holy moly, ICCup has been busy for the last 11 minutes of this game. But Mouse, they take every single one. There's no contention coming out from ICCup whatsoever. That is a gigantic stack to give away. A ton of experience, a ton of gold just given freely to Mouse.
It's very bad for them to give away. It's hard to stack that camp.
Oh, and they want to go in. Fata actually misses on the pounce. Sentry Ward's going to be dropped by Zik, but he gets shackled to the tree from Cinder, and the call down from Jackal is there, but Quakefa, too mobile. Fata regenerating a little bit of health from his ultimate. We're going to see the time-lapse used by Quakefa. He goes back under the Sentry, but it simply doesn't matter. No kills to be had. Resolution skewers into the trees and gets shackled by Cinder, and is there any follow-up? It doesn't look like it. Going to see a Grave Chill going on to Paz. The chase continues. Resolution trying to find something, anything, but he simply can't. ICCup needed to punish that so bad. The pounce missing right there from the Slark, but they couldn't make anything happen. They might be able to get the tier 1, but ICCup really needed more out of that.
They really need to be able to get a kill there, but still, a 0-for-0 exchange, so it's not too bad, but they did rotate up the Mag, of course. Though Fata actually rotated up, he did get that stack, so it was a better trade, of course, for Mouse, but in the end, they got the tier 1 tower, so not too bad for ICCup, or Jackal being able to pick up that last hit as well. And that means Resolution is that much closer to his Blink Dagger. He's only 200 gold away from it.
A Resolution, once he gets that, things are going to start looking up for ICCup. That's basically the only initiation they have right now. Sure, you can try to skewer in, but we've seen the other day when Vanskar was playing Rubik against Scandal's Magnus, it was a nightmare. You skewer in, you get immediately telekinesis, and you can't get the RP that you want, and you're really, really sad about it. So Black down here in bottom lane once again, being left alone. He's up to 82 last hits at just 12.5 minutes in, which, of course, you have to expect out of a player like Black. He always finds his farm. He's going to have his armlet relatively soon, and Resolution does just pick up his Blink Dagger. So now for ICCup, this is the time that you want to move before the Heroes of Mouse get too tanky.
You really want to get level 6 up on the Clockwork, though, to be able to get that hookshot initiation. He's only level 4, so he still needs 2 more levels. But like you mentioned, the Blink Dagger is up, so they can get some good team fights. But I pointed it out earlier when we actually saw it in the game that Mousesports, of course, are going to split up. So it will be hard to be able to hit that RP, but if you have the hookshot, you should be able to get a better initiation going.
Big Ancient stack being taken here by ICCup. Thankfully, this one is not taken away from them. As we saw a little bit earlier, Mouse were able to take away, I gotta say, that was probably like 500-600 gold, maybe even more, in experience for the entirety of Mouse. So that's a pretty big difference. But we can see it starting to spike down now a little bit in favor of ICCup after they're doing this. And this is going to give some very much needed experience to Jackal especially. Gyrocopter, one of those carries who scales very, very well, especially once you start getting the max rank of that Rocket Barrage, which of course he only has 2 points in as of right now. So it's 1-2, not necessarily the fastest paced early game we've ever seen, but with both teams kind of running defensive lanes, even with Mouse playing it in an aggressive position, we kind of figured there weren't going to be many kills.
I would still give the advantage to Mouse at this point. They're just farming so much more. The highest farmer on the side of ICCup is actually Mag at this point, or Resolution on that Magnus. And Jackal has been missing out on quite a bit of last hits just because Weaver being able to have that great harassment coming out, as well as Windrunner having quite a long range, so they could just harass out the Gyrocopter in the lane. And we saw that once he was out of position, he actually did get killed. So Jackal really needs to catch up on farm. Like you mentioned, he scales very well as soon as he gets those items.
And ICCup kind of hovering around Roshan right here. Of course, Resolution has had that blink for a couple of minutes, but they haven't been able to make a whole lot happen. You can look at the warding right now. ICCup, they have 1 ward in the bottom river, and they can't really see anything of Mouse. Quakefa's safely farming in his top lane, and he's holding it pretty much in position, so it's very difficult to actually go on him at the moment. You have Black, who's a very tanky hero in his own right, but middle lane, going to see a skewer back onto Cinderin, and he dies immediately. The cogs from Always Want to Fly were dropped, and I believe Rubik just stole those, actually. Sentry even dropped, just to make sure they could get the kill, and to make sure, of course, that Quakefa and Fata couldn't initiate on the lineup of ICCup. So nice pick off by Resolution, and ICCup grouped up now first, and they're going for the tier 1 mid.
This tier 1 will be very hard for Mouse to defend, just because they don't really have too much counter push when they don't have the Windrunner there. Cinderin respawn though, so he should be able to get up to the lane and get some power shots going to be able to push down those lanes. But other than that, it's just the Fable as well as the power shot that they have as counter push. And once you get the Treants as well as the Familiars out, it's going to be hard to stop that push.
The other thing that's on the table for ICCup is an early Roshan. You get something like a Medallion, you could kill him incredibly fast with heroes like Visage. As long as you reset your Familiar's damage using that stun, you can kill very, very quickly. And a gem of True Sight picked up by ICCup incredibly early. It looks like they're going to be giving it to the Gyrocopter, or at least that's where the courier is heading at the moment. So, not really... It's not a strange choice, but when you buy a gem this early, you have to be really careful. You do not want to give a gem away, especially against a team like Mouse, because then you can give it to the Slark, and he becomes a dewarding nightmare. You simply won't have any vision because he can exploit how mobile he can actually be. But ICCup, they're grouping up behind their tier 1, looking to potentially defend the push of Mouse, but I don't think Mouse really cares about applying a whole lot of pressure. It's kind of on ICCup to bring it to them.
I like the decision to pick up the gem early on, just to be able to shut down some of the mobility of Fata. As soon as he wants to get some ganks going, you're going to have that gem, so his ultimate won't be as useful, of course, since you'll have the vision. He won't be able to regen. So it's a really nice pickup, but we'll have to see what they can make use of it.
And Quakefa's been farming this whole time. It's 17 minutes in. He's got 2,700 gold in his treads. I'm not really sure what his item choice is going to be. We've seen everything from Medallion to drums and some other people like going for the Lincolns and AC if you're Fear, and sometimes he even likes to go Desolator on top of that. There are a lot of different builds for Weaver this game. I'm thinking he's going to want to go along the lines of tankiness, because he already has a lot of carry potential between him, Black, of course, and Fata playing on that Slark. But Resolution, he's got an invis. They're going to find Pos all by himself. That is not where he wanted to be at all, as Zik manages to pick up the kill. So that's a really nice pick for them. They might be able to pressure this tier 1, but because it is only 17 minutes in, the supports do revive relatively quick.
The rotations from ICCup has been really good this game. Just being able to find these pick-off kills on the supports, stopping them from getting the farm they need to be able to survive against the Gyrocopter. Once the Gyrocopter starts to get some items with the Flat Cannon, you of course need a mechanism up on the Windrunner as well as a Ghost Scepter, or you would like to have a Ghost Scepter up on the Rubik to be able to survive. Maybe even a Blink Dagger if you manage to steal that RP.
A Blink would be really, really nice. And I have to compliment ICCup actually on their draft, because there are basically a couple of nice spells to steal, but you're not giving anything away like a Shikuchi to the Rubik. You're not giving him a Blink. You're not giving him saving 2,000 gold. You know what I mean? Like, when you get an ability like that, it's so good for supports, not just for initiation, just in terms of being able to live in situations like he just walked into. But regardless, ICCup, they take the tier 1 mid. Going to see Medallion completed here on Visage in the meantime. So now that early Roshan is on the table, and Fata, he goes for a Shadow Blade, even with Resolution carrying that gem.
That is a bit surprising. It's some very nice damage though. I believe that when we've seen Liquid play, Korok usually goes for that Shadow Blade as well, just to be able to get some extra damage
Fata,
going.
he wants to find Jackal. He might be able to do enough damage to get the kill. Actually decides not to. He did have, of course, Cinderin and Quakefa to back him up, but he is going to play it safe. They know that Resolution has that Blink Dagger, and if he reacted, could have been a pretty decent turnaround.
The thing is though, they don't have vision for Resolution. Resolution doesn't have a TP at this point, which means that he wouldn't be able to react to that. Fata still trying to find some ganks. Mag is going to TP out, and he should be able to make it out, so another failed gank or a failed movement coming out of Fata, so this Slark hasn't really had too much of an impact yet, but we'll still have to wait and see a bit, and we'll have to check if that pick will be worth it.
He hasn't had that impact that you were talking about, but let's just for a second look at the last hits and denies and go, does he really need to have an impact right now other than walking around by himself and being a general nuisance? Because 154 last hits on Black, 111 on Quakefa, 108 on Fata, and he's been moving around. ICCup, they're going to be pressuring the tier 1 bottom, while Mouse looked like they were going to try to do something middle, but of course they're not going to be able to due to the reaction. But this is a lot of farm going the way of Mouse, and ICCup, again, they're going to be pressured to try to make something happen, because even if your Furion's getting farmed, even if Resolution already has his Blink, the Gyrocopter can't be the end-all be-all for everything. But they are going to start going for Roshan. You can see Mouse definitely pulling ahead in the experience department, just because Black hasn't had anything happen to him at all.
The question though that I have with this Slark is that with that amount of farm he has, will he actually be able to semi-carry as well as a Nature's Prophet? And will he be able to stand up against this Gyrocopter in the later stages of the game?
Well, that is going to be the question as we go on. ICCup, though, they get Roshan. And they're going to give Jackal that Aegis. He's got his drums and his Helm of the Dominator already finished. And of course, this is a point where ICCup need to do something. You really don't want to wait that much longer, because the mobility of the Weaver, the innate tankiness of the Lone Druid and Fata in the late game, Gyrocopter is a great carry, but he's not going to be able to do everything on his own. He's going to need some help. They got the RP, they got Always Want to Fly with the Cogs and the hook shot, but overall, this is their time.
Yeah, this Clockwork really has to play well, as well as the Mag, just to be able to be that tanky front for the Gyrocopter to do the amount of damage that it needs to, as Resolution is standing mid with an Invis rune, and they're really looking to be able to get a fight here. Gyro isn't close enough though, so the question is, will they be able to have enough follow-up damage just from the Gyro, or from the Clockwork as well as the Visage?
My question is, ICCup still aren't really making a move. Getting Roshan is great, don't get me wrong. Even if you don't necessarily make use of the Aegis, the golden experience is nice. But they've had a Blink on Resolution, and he's only used it once, and that was for a skewer mid on Cinderin to get a kill. He didn't even expend RP, didn't even have to. So they're not really effectively farming the map. They're kind of just sitting as 4 or 5. I suppose Mal's, at least at this point in time, is doing kind of the same thing. But Black, he's at 174 last hits at 22 minutes into the game. Black is being Black right now, and you need to try to do something to stop it.
That sounded a bit racist, but yeah. Black has picked up a Basher on the bear as well, so we'll have to see if he wants to go for that AC after that. Maybe get some extra pushing power. He's got the armlet, of course. Went for that first.
Oh,
with
middle lane, hook shot. Going to be on Cinder, and he's going to get caught once again. Skewer actually not even necessary from Resolution. He did have a haste rune, by the way, as well. And it looks like the mech is actually completed now on ICCup. And like you said, Magnus going to be the one to get it. So ICCup, they find the pick they were looking for. They're going to collapse into the tier 2, see if they can actually get this down. And I don't know if they necessarily can. Cinderen's going to be up in about 10 seconds, but they do have that Aegis to fall back on.
Yeah, and they should be able to bring this tower down. Of course, they got the familiars with the extra amount of damage, as well as Jackal being here. Mag is tipping in now with the Snitch's Prophet, and they're going to spawn the tree against RP.
Going to be behind the tower. They're going to spend it on Boss just solo. They really want to try to crack this. Quakefa actually just uses time-lapse to get away from the rest of ICCup, but at the end of the day, Mouse will force them back, and delaying the game is always going to be in their favor. Mag, though, manages to deny the tier 2 bottom, but he's going to be in some trouble. The dust is used. Mag has that Shadow Blade. Is he going to make it in time? Just barely. Fata will be able to secure the kill. That last auto attack proving to be a little bit too much.
Nice pick-off kill for Fata, of course, and now you can see his ultimate as soon as he gets out of vision. Full HP once again. Uses 1 bottle charge to be able to regain some mana. And will they be able to... No, they won't be able to defend this middle tower. This bear is starting to do a lot of damage. He's picked up a Hyperstone as well, and most likely moving his way towards an AC, and their pushing power is going to get ridiculously strong.
That Basher, the armlet, the phase boots. You can see Black, he's just sending the bear on the tower. But the one nice thing that ICCup does have is that medallion and the familiars that do a reasonable chunk of damage to that bear at this stage in the game. But they get 2 towers for nothing. I mean, they just sent the bear at the tower, got the tier 1, got the tier 2. They're going to be quite happy with that, and they're going to back up. But of course, the Aegis is going to be down soon. They probably have about 2 minutes left on that before Jackal is not going to be able to fight with 2 lives. So regardless, it's like, this is... It worries me. ICCup is still farming pretty well. You can see the net worth. Actually, 3 of the top 5 are going in favor of ICCup for the moment. But their composition is what's giving me these worries. Can they actually stand late game against what Mouse has?
They have to be the aggressors when they come into the late game. They have to go for pushing, because they themselves doesn't really have any counter push either. Well, Mag might be in some trouble.
He's trying to TP out. Will he be able to make it in time? It looks like this time he's going to be able to escape Fata just being incredibly annoying. And I like the way he's playing this too, because he's acting very similarly to how any other global hero would act against a Nature's Prophet, and I guess he just wanted to casually pounce, not really hit anything. But it's nice to have a Shadow Blade, because you can always force Mag back. But instead of going back, he's actually going to go towards the tier 2, where ICCup are starting to pressure.
Familiars are doing quite a bit of damage. Resolution sitting in the jungle, waiting to see if he can actually get an RP going. But I would say that the trades that ICCup got before they actually lost their 2 towers were quite worth it, because getting the supports out of the fight, those are the 2 heroes
they're going
to
find Black on the side. Resolution with the skewer. He's all by himself. Right into the call down the hookshot by Always Want to Fly. Actually going to hit 2. Pos and Cinder and stuck inside. Always Want to Fly actually gets up to the high ground, but he RPs him over the edge into the entirety of ICCup. Beautifully done by Resolution. It's 8-2 in favor of ICCup right now, and they're also going to secure the tier 2 tower as well.
Black did not go down, but once again they managed to kill off the supports, who are the big team fight disruptors on Mousesports' side, and they got a tier 2 tower. So great fight, going the way of ICCup, and they're just going to move towards the tier 2 in top as well.
Always Want to Fly, we mentioned how important his performance is going to be to ICCup this game. He gets the cogs onto right next to the hill, and Resolution realizes, hey, I'm in range, I can pull him up here. Free kills, basically. We'll secure the tier 2 tower. Teleport in, coming from Cinder, and looks like Mouse wants to try to pursue this, but I don't think they're going to be able to catch anyone. Cinder pops the wind run. He will throw out a Shackle, and it latches. How in the world did that Shackle latch? Jackal going to be losing the Aegis. It still had about a minute left on its cooldown. The cogs coming out from Always Want to Fly, but it actually traps his own teammate in. Jackal, his life is going to be forfeit. Unbelievable Shackle coming out from Cinderin.
That was just really weird. That was almost a 90-degree angle Shackle. But I mean, there's a reason we've been seeing funny pictures on Twitter of Cinderin and Windrunner.
Oh, so. Zik getting chased down by Fata. Always Want to Fly, trying to get the cogs. He's going to casually TP away. Always Want to Fly, going to TP too. Nobody, unfortunately, in range from the side of Mouse to stop those teleportations. But They do force ICCup back into their base. The Gyrocopter is going to be dead for another 15 seconds, and Mouse may be able to secure the tier 2.
Well, the bear is doing so much damage at this point that I wonder if they can actually defend this, especially with the Gyrocopter being down, like you mentioned. Cooldown is going to be up once he spawns, but this tower is just gone in a few seconds.
Yeah, it's like maybe they can defend the tier. No, they can't. The bear just kills it incredibly fast, and we haven't really talked much about him in a while, but Qualifier, he's got his Manta style completely finished. That's going to be the first choice that he's decided to make this game. And it's an interesting one. It's kind of like the hybrid damage, survivability like kind of style for a Weaver, which he doesn't necessarily need straight damage either, because we've seen how fast Black can kill those towers with his bear. But Jackal, in the meantime, he's going to secure himself another Ancient stack, and he still has his Helm of the Dominator. He's now got a Yasha. I don't think he's going to want to finish that Manta. It seems like a little bit of a waste. I feel like at this stage, he really needs a BKB, because the magic damage from the Fade Bolt, the power shots, the Slark especially, are just chewing through him.
I was going to say he might pick up a Butterfly, and he actually did pick up the Eagle Song now, so he's going to go for straight damage instead of a BKB. But I still feel that the magic damage on Mouse's side doesn't really justify getting a BKB. I mean, they got some good stuns, but there are only 2 stuns, and if you position yourself correctly, you shouldn't get Shackle Shot or you shouldn't get lifted, so you should be able to follow up with the damage. So I kind of agree with the Butterfly, just to be able to dodge out most of the damage coming out of Black's bear, but with the farm that Black is getting at this point, he might be able to pick up an MKB as his next item if he keeps farming like this, and that's going to be very soon.
The net worth of Black, absolutely out of control. He's still sitting at the top. He's being pretty close, actually, to being beaten by Jackal, of course, playing on that Gyrocopter. But the story has just been, if you let Black farm, he's going to be the most farmed hero in the game. Pretty much every single game, no matter what. That's just his style. He always manages to do a fantastic job. But we can see Fanta holding on to a pretty large sum of money himself. He's got 4,800 gold. Not really sure what his next choice is going to be. He could go the same route that we saw Miguel do, which is maybe go for a BKB, then go right into the Abyssal Blade, and just be in the fray the entire time. Try to get an Abyssal off maybe on Resolution, kill him before the RP comes out, or just focus anybody that you really need to. So for ICCup, they've actually done a really nice job of maintaining a decent level of pressure. And they're still split farming reasonably well. Of course, that Nature's Prophet still farming. Mag has been doing a great job. He's got his Shadow Blade done for quite a while. Even has a Scythe now on top of everything else, as Resolution is working his way towards that refresher.
That pickup is great for Mag on the Nature's Prophet to be able to get, as Fada actually picks up the BKB, so he's not going to be having to worry about that Scythe of Vice, of course. But I would actually say that I would have want Fada to pick up an Abyssal Blade straight away, just because the mobility of Slark and the positioning that he's had, he didn't really need the BKB. BKB is of course a safer choice, but with the way he's been playing, going for a straight Abyssal would have been great, just to be able to stop the damage coming out of Jackal.
We can see Roshan's going to be up in about 2 minutes, give or take, and Fata going to be quite happy about his magic immunity. I think for him it was more, I want to be able to fight in these 5 versus 5 engagements. I agree that the Abyssal would have been fantastic, even in the smaller fights, because you can just isolate a hero and kill it. That's kind of what Slark is meant to do. But if you imagine that ICCup isn't going to be splitting up too much anymore, the only person away from his team right now is Jackal, which could be a huge problem. The Bear's going to be chasing in after the pounce. The cooldown's going to be there. I bet he wishes he had a BKB now, because he just got picked off by Fata, of course, and assisted a little bit by Pos and Black.
That is a great pickoff by Mouse. I believe that he actually has a buyback at this point, though, which means that he can respawn if Mouse wants to go for Roche. But Mouse, like I mentioned, the pickoff opens up Roche for them right now. No tier 2 towers out for ICCup, which means that it will take them some time to be able to get there. Jackal buys back, and they have to run really fast to be able to get down there, as Mouse actually retreats out of the Roche pit.
We have a little bit of timer issues here, as we can see, because the Roshan is clearly alive, so we need to have a little bit of work done on that one. But ICCup, they're gonna actually manage to defend the Roshan. So Roshan not been killed just yet. They still have a kill lead. The overall golden experience, the gold is almost non-existent. 2,500 gold at 31 minutes, that's nothing. Not really a huge deal. But the experience, looking at about 7,500, that's a little bit more troublesome. But ICCup has been doing a fantastic job of utilizing the map, especially with Mag playing on that Nature's Prophet. But next thing on the menu for both teams, going to be Roshan.
ICCup really needs this Roshan. They need to get it up on Jackal so he can survive these fights. Just because he didn't go for that BKB like we mentioned. He's going for the butterfly. He did buy back right now, which means the butterfly is going to be that much further away. Mouse actually backs up on the high ground. I was wondering if they were going to use the smoke, but they did not do it as Resolution on Mag actually DC. So we're going to have a pause.
Yeah, really quick pause here, but the state of the game right now, Mao's still looking pretty strong. They have the gold lead. They have the experience lead. This Roshan for either team can be the make or break. Whoever gets it, they can mount a push. It's going to be devastating regardless of what team it comes from. ICCup, they have the Hex stun on the Nature's Prophet. They have their mech on Resolution. They have the RP. He's even going to have double RP soon, which makes their team fight even more scary. And since Jackal didn't go for that BKB, he's going to be able to receive the Empower from Resolution for a much, much longer time. The one thing that they have to do, absolutely have to do, is make sure that Resolution is there with a counter initiation and make sure Always Wanna Fly is on the front lines. Because since this Gyro doesn't have a BKB, he can still get focused down.
They really need Always Wanna Fly to be able to get good cogs up and just disrupt this fight. They need to cut either Fatov or Koikov, because they can't have all three core heroes of Mouse being in the fight and fighting unless they hit a big RP on them and just kill them off instantly.
A Mouse?
They have to just force them away.
They're not going to be doing much of anything right now. The medallion used on Roshan is still quite low. Black going to be scouting it out with the bear. And Zik actually getting stunned up. Gets stunned 2 times, actually. Always Want to Fly, gonna miss on the hook shot. Koikva now doing quite a bit of damage. The cogs used maybe a little bit prematurely, but Roshan will go down. The Aegis is still sitting inside the pit. No one has picked it up just yet. Resolution is going to be forced to take it. The double cogs coming out, and it looks like it's actually going to be Mag who's caught inside of them. So Cinderin also taking quite a bit of damage himself, but Jackal is going to be falling here for sure. He has the butterfly. Black trying to chase him down, trying to use the phase boots with the bear, but the power shot snipe coming out from Cinderin, and that's going to be a 4-man kill right there for the side of Mouse. And the only person who got the Aegis, of course, being Resolution. Ironically, he had made it out of the pit anyway.
Why did Jackal not pick up the Aegis in that situation? He had a sword open, and he could have picked up that Aegis. That was just a really weird decision for me, just because he was stuck in the pit, and there was no way he's going to be able to get out of there. Resolution was in there as well, but he of course had the Blink Dagger, and he didn't use his RP, so this is 3 racks for Mouse, and it might just be 2 racks as well, with the bear being this strong.
You know, the funny thing is, ICCup actually had Glyph. They maybe could have glyphed that, maybe send Resolution in. Of course, the RP might have been wasted, but you have an Aegis. At least walk in, deter Mouse from just beating on your towers a little bit. Resolution looks for his skewer, and he's not going to find it. So, ICCup, they give a whole heck of a lot away. The Glyph is now down. So this is the time where Mouse really wants to try to make something happen. Of course, Jackal going to be up in just a second. So they might decide to just back up, be happy with the middle racks, be happy with the tier 3 in the top lane, and it looks like that's going to be their choice.
It's still a 3 racks though, which I feel came out of a bit of misplay from ICCup. Like you mentioned, they probably could have used the Glyph. It would have been a bit scarier, because they most likely would have lost 2 racks if they used the Glyph too early, so a good decision in that sense, but just not giving the Aegis to Jackal, I feel, was a really big mistake.
I was baffled as well, because I saw Roshan die, and you think to yourself, okay, Jackal's going to pick up the Aegis, there's going to be a fight. Might not go that well for ICCup, because Always Want to Fly missed his hook shot, and he had to use his cogs pretty early in the fight, and Rubik actually stole the cogs, cogged in Mag, and then killed him. Overall, the coordination for Mouse in that fight was just much, much better. And the thing about their team is that they can fight spread out. There's no issue, but they're going to find Fata. The Hex is going to be there. Immediately pops a Shadow Blade, also empowered Resolution. He's going to blink right into Cogs, gets Telekinesis back. He's not going to be able to find the RP, but Pos, he's going to end up forfeiting his life regardless. 40 seconds left on him, but Fata, he manages to live from the clutch Cogs and the Telekinesis coming out of Pos.
Still only Pos going down there, and like you mentioned, those cogs were massive. Blinking in, the RP got cancelled instantly as soon as the cogs came up, so great play by Pos being able to save Fata. Black is going to go in, kill off the creep of Jackal and just steal the Ancients now, so he's going to get even more farm. He's picked up a Demon Edge as well, so he's working his way towards an MKB, and that's pretty much going to spell the end for Jackal unless he gets some really good positioning going.
Well, Koikva actually already has a full MKB too. So MKB on the Weaver, MKB on the Bear soon. That Butterfly choice, it's a hybrid between damage and survivability in terms of physical, you know, against other carries. But when both of them have MKBs, I really feel like a BKB, even though, like you were saying, not a lot of disables, but just being able to stay safe. Just being able to have that panic button to say, they got to me, I can't get away, I need a BKB, especially when he got caught outside of the base. If he had a BKB, he would have been 100% fine. And sure, that's not why they're losing right now, but it doesn't help.
It's kind of the same decision, whereas Fada picked up the BKB instead of going for an Abyssal straight away, just to be able to be safe in fights and just do whatever he wants to. He doesn't have to rely on positioning that much. Of course, you have to have good positioning as well, but with a BKB, you can be a bit more reckless and just try and get the extra damage out.
Fata, he's actually making an MKB too, so make it a triple threat. 3 heroes with an MKB here on the side of Mouse, actually about right now, as he has enough for his Demon Edge when he wants to secure it. So Mouse, they are just farmed beyond belief. Interestingly enough, ICCup, they still got 3 heroes with a pretty large chunk of net worth as supports. They're not really that far apart. Of course, Visage not having the greatest game. He's sitting at 3,200. He's the lowest. But even Always Wanna Fly, he almost has the same net worth as the supports of Mouse. So it's not like ICCup have done anything terribly wrong this game. They're just getting slowly chipped away. And speaking of chipped away, good lord, that bear does a lot of damage to the range racks. And they're just going to get that one for free. There is no glyph right now on the side of ICCup. So they really need to try to take this fight. They're going to sprout the bear. Medallion's going to be there as well. And that is a very, very fast kill on bear number 1 right there from Black.
It's still range tracks down, and Mouse is more than happy to just take that back out, farm up even more. The MKB was finished on the bear, so the extra damage coming out, of course, and now Black can start to look at building items for his hero instead just tanking up that hero, making sure he himself doesn't actually go down in these fights.
And Mouse still positioned outside of ICCup's base. This time, ICCup actually has some defensive wards, so they know exactly what's going on. They're not going to be leaving their base anytime soon, I would imagine. But even killing the range tracks, it is going to make Mouse's lane push top in favor. But Fata, he's going to spot out Mag in the bottom lane. Quakefa's here too, just far too much damage for him to stand against. He does eventually get the Hex off, but it's a little bit too late.
There is a buyback on this Nature's Prophet, but what is he actually going to do if he buys back now? Because, like we saw when they pushed the range racks, Mouse can just go in with the bear and pretty much 5-shot the melee racks. And then they got 2 racks up. So we really need to see an all-in move coming out of ICCup zone. I would imagine seeing a Rapier coming up on Jackal, if they can manage to farm it up, would be a really good decision. But it's still, he's lacking a BKB, which means that he's going to be locked down quite easily if he's out of position.
Well, this could be big. Smoke up from ICCup. They're going to catch Mouse a little bit off guard here. They do have full vision of this fight. Is he going to be able to get the RP? He does. He pulls 2 people up to the high ground. Quakefa going to be joining Cinderin up there, actually, and Jackal doing quite a bit of damage himself. The Cogs coming out. Fata stuck inside with that BKB pop, but 2 for 2 actually right now is double buybacks from each side. Actually make that 2 buybacks on the side of ICCup, and they're actually managing to defend this quite well. 3 down now on the side of Mouse. Cinderin bought back, but unfortunately it's just not going to matter. And I think that Mouse push might have actually been thwarted right there. Very nicely played by Resolution. He didn't have quite enough mana to get the second RP off because he only has 1,000 right now, and he was using other spells. But still, pretty nice RP bringing everyone up to the high ground.
That was a really good decision, though, from ICCup, going for that smoke gank. They're going to get some pressure down in middle lane. I believe we don't actually have buyback. Black does not have a buyback. Koikwa's got one, so he's going to be able to join the fight once again. So they're most likely not going to be able to get to tier 3, but still, they're opening up more farm, getting Jackal closer to a Rapier if he wants to go for that, of course. But I'd say at this point, he needs it. Even though they got that good of a fight, he still needs that Rapier to be able to get that damage out.
It seems like every time we see Gyrocopter, we talk about Rapier. Just because, for whatever reason lately, he doesn't seem to be doing that well. He's won a handful of games, but sometimes when you're behind, you're like, well, just buy a Rapier. And sometimes you say that kind of jokingly, but in the case of Gyrocopter, it's incredibly potent. But ICCup doing a pretty good chunk of damage. Nice Shackle coming out right there onto Zik and Resolution, but no follow-up coming out of the side of Mouse. Just trying to bide some time for Black to be alive again. He will be up in about 3 seconds or so. And I don't think ICCup's going to be able to punish that hard, but even being able to defend the base for them at this stage in the game is a win.
Almost getting the tier 3 tower down there is very nice for them. They did have RP up, but it's a good decision for them to just back out here, take as much farm they can in the opponent's jungle, and just catch up on farm, because that's the biggest thing they need now. They need big items up on their core heroes. They of course got the refresher up like we saw in the last fight on the mag, so he used it in the fight, 40 more seconds to be able to have a double RP, and Nature's Prophet is the one that needs to pick up some new items as well. He's got a Chrysalis on his way in now, so he's going to go for that Daedalus, which means even more right-click damage coming out of him as well.
Well, they need it too. I mean, with Empower, crit is actually a very, very good choice for him. And then you already have Jackal, who's got quite a bit of damage himself. He hits for 302, and he's got 2,700 gold saved up. So if he wants to go for a damage item, the Rapier is always a choice, but does he really need that much damage? We saw how fast ICCup were able to secure kills in that last engagement around the ward spot there in ICCup's jungle. So if they can get that kind of damage off without a Rapier, I don't necessarily think they need it.
That's very true. They're actually going for another smoke gank here. They're going to find Koikwa out.
Oh, RP only hits the bear. Not so good by Resolution. He actually gets shackled, trying to skewer back. Fata going to find Zik right now. Always want to fly, throwing out a defensive cog, trying to cause some disruption, but it's just not going to matter. Jackal getting caught. 3-man RP this time, coming out of Resolution, but his gyrocopter's already dead. There's no damage follow-up. Resolution going to skewer over the cliff, as we're also going to see Koikwa pick up the double kill right there. Mag going down. Resolution soon to follow. Always want to fly. Going to be joining the ranks of the dead here in just a second on the side of ICCup. The melee Rax top is exposed. It's going to be dropping here, and I think this could be the end of game one as ICCup actually do call the GG.
Really well played there by Mouse. Kind of a misplay of Resolution to not get that RP. It's hard though when Koikwa is the one scouting you out on that Weaver. He just Shikuchi's away, and then you're kind of stressed out. You need to get that RP, but you can't really see everybody since they did not have a vision or they did not have a high ground ward there. So great play by Mouse, just playing it safe, getting the farm they needed, starting to push with the bear, and just really playing it really safe the whole game. But ICCup, they really put up a really good fight. So
yeah, I mean,
they really did it, James.
ICCup came into this the clear underdogs, but I think they put forth a lot more effort than a lot of people think they were going to. They managed to take it. I mean, it was 15-13. Yeah, they kind of got chipped away over the course of the game. It was 43 minutes long, and in the end, they kind of got smothered by more carries. We kind of expressed our worry about that during the draft phase. It's like, if you let Mouse go to the late game, they had the Lone Druid, they had the Slark. It was just way, way too much for them in the end. But one thing I do want to point out for poor Resolution is even though his RP was kind of bad that game, he was playing against a Rubik, he was playing against a Weaver, a Lone Druid, so many high-priority targets that he basically had to hit.
He's still got some good RPs off. I mean, yeah, even though it was only 1 or 2 man RPs, he managed to get some good pickoff kills once they just started killing the support. The problem was just that everybody on Mouse was farming so well. I mean, Black just farming the jungle all the time, and then you had Weaver farming another lane, and of course Fata running around with the Slark. You don't really know where he is. He's just farming away. So,
well, there you go. Of course, that's going to be a little bit too much from us, I think. We got to leave some for James and Bruno. So how are you guys doing? What'd you think of the game?
Yeah, we're doing fine. We're just working on timers.
Yeah, I saw that. I was looking at that. Can't be right.
But anyway, I do want to talk about Resolution playing the Magnus and also Fata playing the Slark. These, for me, were the two big heroes in the game in terms of impact. Now, when the game started, you'll notice that Resolution was just doing so well in terms of farming. Before the Slark hits level 6, you get a nice, easy lane for a little bit, and he was doing fantastically well. So his Arcane Boots and Blink Dagger were early. Were not early, but they were on time, and it was a good timing to get them. When they did this, they actually had a huge kind of area where they could have pushed the advantage, and they were very smart with actually picking up a gem. Just because you're like, okay, they need to farm on their Lone Druid. Slark is only got like 900 HP currently when we had the gem. And they took their 5-man advantage and made some stuff happen. Where it really went wrong was when the Magnus went to the top lane and just completely whiffed most of his abilities.
Yeah.
He wasn't able to hit a good RP, so didn't even throw it. And they should have wiped at least 2 people, got the kill, and just been happy with that. You also notice that one thing I want to talk about Fata, he didn't have a great mid-game on Slark. He really wasn't able to kind of achieve too much. He was, like, the jungle was pretty safe. He didn't have, like, a Basher or an MKB. He went for the Shadow Blade, so people were just TPing away from him. So he didn't have the impacts as Miguel's absolute legend Slark. It wasn't until later when the fight everyone was getting the farm that Mouse wanted, and he really kind of made a big impact.
I want to stop right there and counter-argue that point just for a second.
Yeah.
Because Okay, Fata's moving around the map, right? He spent the majority of the time from probably the 10, 15-minute mark onward either trying to get kills or at the very least aggressively positioning himself on the opponent's side of the map. Even if he doesn't find kills, they have 2 other heroes who are going to be getting farm pretty much the entire time.
I mean, that is his job, but the point is like the Magnus and ICCup messing up that fight or not getting what they wanted, they allowed Slark to have that position. If they took a better engagement tier 1 top, ICCup could have won this game. Because they could have been strong enough the supports wouldn't have been as strong, they could have been more aggressive earlier, which would have stopped Black and also the Weaver from getting all their farm. And when you have a gem versus Slark, you could have done something nicely. And at the end, it was too much on resolution. You saw like one fight with the smoke up by the ward spot where he RP people onto the hill.
Nice.
That was like the perfect engagement. And then they looked for it again with another smoke. We need a second perfect engagement. Couldn't get it. When he RP'd, he actually caught the bear. And instead of just skewering over to Black and putting down a second RP, he actually skewered the bear back to his team. And he was maybe expecting everybody from his team to start hitting the bear. But in reality, they were still moving forward. And then the bear got onto the gyrocopter and ate him alive because MKB versus Butterfly. So I felt that ICCup, I'm very impressed with, though they could have won. But Mousesports got too comfortable after ICCup couldn't take the mid-game where they wanted to.
I still think there were 2 interesting things that happened during the mid-game. The first or more notorious one was that second Roshan, where no one picked the Aegis, was supposed to go for the gyrocopter. I was sitting there for about 6 seconds while a fight was happening, and Magnus ended up getting it. At the end, that Aegis, I think, expired because there was no other engagement during that time. But imagine if the gyrocopter would have gotten that. I mean, it would have been different. They would have been probably less scared to actually try and engage and make something happen. Let's not forget that at the beginning of the game they were 8-3 ahead in kills. They didn't have the full map control, but they were winning the small engagements. Yeah. They could manage to win the big ones. It was good. And the other thing was that at the beginning of the game, even though Black was getting all he wanted because he was having an amazing game in terms of CS.
Apparently he was the second most farm lone druid in competitive play.
At 19 minutes I checked, it was 148, and the fastest, the most farmed one was 150. So
who was that?
It was also Black.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He farms
so
a lot.
Black versus Black.
Yeah. So it's quite strong. But the problem was that at that moment Black was doing well, but Gyrocopter was doing great as well, and Nature's Prophet was doing great in terms of gold. And then, with the gem, with everything, Nature's Prophet decides to split push, and because Slag decided to go for the Shadow Blade, he could get the jump on him every time, and the damage output was such that Nature's Prophet could not even TP in time just to save his life. So he got picked like 3 times differently, just twice only solo Slark, and once also with the Weaver, just down here. And that took him back so bad that suddenly he was not an impact anymore.
Yeah, Slark did do his job, you're right, in terms of just where he's positioning. But if you're going to do a split push, you need to be 4-1, you can't be one person, really, when you're up against a Slark that had the gem later. And even when you saw 2 supports, Clockwork and also Visage, they both had to TP from here just because of one Slark, who didn't have a basher at the time. So, impressive play, though, still from ICCup. It's nice to see them stretching Mousesports in terms of the game that they had to play. It definitely wasn't one in the first 15 minutes. It was so up in the air. Yeah. And Mousesports, when they get comfortable and get to play their game, that's when you know they're a really dangerous team. And from here, we're going to want to go into game number 2. I'm fine going straight into the game. I know we're about 10 minutes behind schedule just because of some of the problems. So rather than take a break, it would probably be wise that we start the match. Are you happy with that, Trance? Trance is like, wants a small break. Yeah. You want a small break, Trance? Okay.
We don't need a break. Come on.
Nah. He needs to. He's going to put the Roshan timer. Into.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, Trance.
Trance, you do not count time in frames. You count in seconds. Otherwise, that happens.
What does that mean?
Because it's all you, Trance.
Oh.
It's all you.
Pass the blame. Webpads.
Yes.
This Aegis timer of yours, seriously.
I'm sorry.
Sort it out.
I
All right.
really tried.
Needs more effort.
I really tried.
But well done, Mousesports, 1-0 up. And we're going to go to a quick break, but when we come back, we'll be moving straight into game number 2 between Mousesports and ICCup.